Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Noah, and in this video I am going to show you all how to make the right decision when deciding between a remote job and a non-remote job. As always, I hope you can take something away from this video, and with that being said, let's get right into it. So here we are back again in Excel. I don't find myself using Excel for too many of my videos recently, but for this example, we found our way back in. And the reason we need to utilize Excel for this video specifically is because we're going to be talking about numbers, right? We're going to be comparing a remote job salary with a in-person salary, and I'm going to try to help you make a decision on what outlook might be better for you. This is something that I've read a lot about in the last year or so in different forums and online spaces and so on, where people are trying to decide what route they want to take. Maybe they're in person right now and they received an offer remotely that is maybe less money or something like that, and they want to know if that's going to be worth it. Maybe they're remote right now and they want to make more money, so they're looking at in-person positions or something like that. And I hope this example that we're going to kind of go over in the next little bit here is going to help you kind of get your gears turning to help you decide what option might be best for you. So before we begin, we need to set the scene a little bit. There's so many different variables at play here, so it's very important for us to keep as many things consistent as possible. So the first example that I want to go over to really kind of establish a baseline for the following examples is I want to take two individuals. One individual is going to be remote, the other individual is going to have an in-office position, but their salaries are going to be the same. You can see that in this top bit right here. The left side obviously is everything remote, and the right is everything in person. But their salaries are both $48,000 take-home, meaning their monthly take-home is going to be right around $4,000. And I wanted to include expenses. Obviously, our lives are going to have more expenses than what you see right here, but these were some of the main ones that contribute to this remote work versus working in office comparison. So to begin, let's just start putting some numbers in here, right? Let's assume that their rents are both the same at maybe $1,500 or something like that. Obviously, even if you are remote, you likely still have a car, right? Because you do other things other than just drive to work. Now, in order to get a value in here, I did want to do a little bit of research. I currently do not have a car, so I don't know what vehicle payments are like for new and used cars. And I did take a look online using the trusty GPT tool. And this guy is saying that as of the third quarter of 2024, the average monthly car payment in the US is approximately $737 for new vehicles and $520 for used vehicles. Before, I go any further with this, this seems unbelievable, right? Are any of you paying $700 for a new vehicle or $500 for a used vehicle? I mean, that just seems obscene to me. I mean, just unbelievable. So you can kind of let me know what your situation is if you'd like. But for this, I'm going to use, I want to find a middle ground, right? So I'm just going to use 500 for this example here, assuming that maybe they bought a used vehicle and that's what they're financing. Now, gas for the remote position is going to be $0, right? And you're probably thinking, well, that's impossible, right? They're still using gasoline. We're not going to talk about electric vehicles in this example. Sorry if you have one, but the reason this is going to be $0 is because they're not using any gas to get to work. They're using gas for other things. They're not using any for work. So that's actually going to be $0 for the remote position in this case. Vehicle insurance. This is another one where I really wasn't sure about because I'm just not familiar. So I did do a little bit of research, and you can find insurance for about $100 a month. So we're going to use that, and these are all monthly numbers, right? This $1,500, $500. These are all monthly payments. The reason I have takeout on here is because a lot of individuals, when they go into the office, they're more inclined during their lunch break to run downstairs to the company's the cafe that's in their building down the road to just get a quick bite or something like that. We don't have that here, right? Because we're remote, we're just eating the food in our fridge. So that is going to be 0 as well. So now let's do the same thing over on this side, right? The in-person position, 1500, assuming they live in the same unit, that's going to be the same. Let's say that they have the same car, so the $500 payment is going to be there. Now for gas, this is going to be 72. And you're probably wondering, how I got to 72. The way I got to 72 is because I wanted to calculate the amount of money that they spent just getting to work. I did go back, do a little bit of kind of surface level research. I was able to find out that the average amount of miles that someone would drive to work in the US is 15 miles. So you can see that here, 15 times 2, there and back, right? So 30 miles per day, 5 days a week, 4 weeks in a month. So that leads to 600 total miles. The average fuel efficiency for cars is right around 25 miles per gallon, and I used $3 per gallon of gas, and that gives you 72, right? That's not too relevant. You might be looking at that thinking that's low. Maybe you drive a huge vehicle or something like that, but we need to give something in there, right? So I think 72 is right around what a lot of normal average people spend on their commutes just to work, right? Not other stuff, just their commute to work. Let's keep insurance the same at 100, but there's might be takeout here, right? This is one area where things are going to be different, so we're going to use 50. I'm just saying $10 a day, 5 days a week, something like that. So you can instantly see, right, at the bottom here, leftover money from our, and don't worry about all the other expenses in life. We're just talking about the comparison between remote positions and non-remote. The leftover money that we see for the remote position is a little bit more, right? 150, whatever it is, more than the position that is in office. Now you're probably thinking, no, that's not that big of a difference, right? Maybe I like being in office, and that 100 and whatever it is, 130, whatever it is, isn't that big of a deal. So this is pointless. But there's one area that I haven't talked about yet that you've probably maybe seen, is this row right here, intrinsic value. Which is basically a value that we assign to something, an asset or a position that is non-numerical. It's very hard to put a monetary value on something that has intrinsic value. And this is an example, right? A comparison between not having to go commute into an office to do the same work that you would do while going into an office. The aspects that I can kind of take, that I can think of with this are the travel time, right? That's the first one. Doing some more research, I was able to find that the average commute to work for a lot of individuals, is around 25 minutes there and back, which is not always the case, because I have heard of many examples where the commute into work isn't that bad, but coming out can be an hour, can be 40 minutes or something like that. So even best case scenario, 25 there, 25 back, thinking things are very, very consistent. That's a decent amount of time, right? That's 50 minutes a day in the car, minimum. And then you do that 5 days a week, right? So 50 times 5, 250 minutes. You multiply that by 4, and then you're at, 1,000 minutes per month that you'll spend just sitting in your car, dealing with other drivers, potentially risking an accident. People are always in a hurry and so on. That has value, right? That time, not only is that time valuable, because what could you do with that other time? That you wouldn't be spending in a car. There's other aspects time-wise to this where there's not a urge to get ready, an hour and a half early in the morning. For me, I start my work remote at around 7 Central. I am probably out of bed. Well, I take this back. I get out of bed at 4:50 because I'll go to the gym earlier. But getting ready for work, if you didn't go to the gym, you can be ready in 10 minutes, right? You wake up, you wash your face, you get a cup of coffee, some water, you put your your glasses on, and then you sit in front of your computer and you're ready to work, right? There's not all of this prep work that needs to go into actually starting your day-to-day work. And of course, there's other forms of intrinsic value that I think can be tied into this. A big one that I can think of is getting things done around your apartment, around your house that need to be done that you just cannot do while you're at work. Prepping food for dinner, right? If you're making a stew on your lunch, you can, you can actually cook, put it in the crock pot or whatever it is, the slow cooker. And by the time you're done with work, it's going to be done. You don't have to worry about doing any of that after signing out, after getting back from your, from your commute or anything, right? You can just do that while you're at home. You can also do cleaning at home. You can also do laundry. You can also attend to other miscellaneous tasks that kind of become a pain in the in the rear when you do have to worry about commuting in and out of from your job. So the reason intrinsic value here is a question mark is because I don't know what that is, right? It's going to be different for every single person. But from my experience, and I've talked to a lot of other individuals that are remote, if they needed to, for whatever reason, right? If they needed to go back into work, the salary that they would need to take in order to match this intrinsic value is quite a bit, right? I always kind of tell people I would want almost double my current salary if I had to be in an office 5 days a week again. And that's just the reality, right? Now, putting intrinsic value aside, where things get pretty crazy is when you think about a situation where maybe you are remote and you also don't need a vehicle, right? What you could do, and what some people do, is because they are remote, they'll choose living positions that are pretty much in the heart of everything, meaning you don't need a vehicle to get around, right? New York is kind of like this. You're probably at a detriment to yourself if you have a vehicle. So for this example, let's say this person was able to get a place for $1,500 that is a little bit more in the heart of everything, and they just said, I don't really want a vehicle. I have a bike with a basket on it. I can do all of my grocery shopping, whatever it is. If I ever need to leave and do something bigger, I'll either carpool or I'll get an Uber or Lyft, whatever you're doing. But I want to get rid of my car. So not only does that make their vehicle payment zero, but it also means that their insurance is going to be zero as well, right? Because they don't have a car. Now, the difference between their leftover money is pretty stark, right? We're creeping on $1,000 difference between the remote position and the non-remote position, even with the incomes being exactly the same, the take-home income. So one of the next questions that I think a lot of people might think about is, okay, well, what is that toss-up point, right? What do I need to make from a in-person job, assuming that in-person jobs are less desirable, which I think they kind of are, after remote work became widespread at the beginning of COVID. What do I need to make in person at an in-person position to really match the maximum amount that I can take home from a remote position, right? So you can see in this example, the remote position has quite a bit more leftover money, $2,500 versus $17, and their salaries are exactly the same. The reason being is that they don't have a vehicle, et cetera, et cetera. So what do I need to make in an office position to take the same leftover money? So we can actually try to put some dollar values in here. Let's say we know that there's $1,000 difference, right? So let's say maybe their salary jumps up to $50,000. Okay, not that big of a difference. Maybe we need 55. Okay, we're getting closer, right? So now, in the take-home, the in-office position, we're making $55,000 take-home per year, and we're still a little bit under the leftover money that the $48,000 remote position has. So maybe we'll try $56,000. We're close. This might be about as close as we're going to get. Let's try 57. Okay, this is really close. So this means that you need to make, simply put, you need to make your take-home income for an in-person position needs to be $57,000 in order to have the same amount of leftover money that a $48,000 remote position has, right? And this is probably the best way that you can think about this decision between in-person and remote. Obviously, there's so many other ways that we could structure this. This video could be an hour long of going over specific examples, but the reality is that that's not going to get good viewership on YouTube, right? The reality is that these videos are really meant to get your gears turning, like I said, and get you thinking about these type of decisions as an analyst, right? You want to think of it with a analytical mind, with someone that knows how to work a little bit with numbers. But like I said, at the end of the day, the biggest contributing factor in this is the intrinsic value, right? Because it's so difficult to put a value on your time and the convenience of being I'm home, right? This is where I work, right? So if I need to do something at my house throughout the day, I can just step away, take a minute to do it, get it done, and come back and work, where you just cannot do that with an in-person position. So I hope this video was relatively informative on different ways that you can kind of think about this comparison when choosing between a remote job and a in-person job. But as always, I want to hear from you viewers as well. What do you guys think of the example that I set up here? Is it accurate or is it far-fetched? Please let me know in the comment section below. I would love to hear your thoughts. But quite honestly, the most important thing that I want to hear about is that vehicle stuff that I mentioned earlier in the video. Are you guys actually paying $500 or $700 for your vehicle payment? Is $100 for insurance actually accurate? That's actually what I'm more curious about. So if you have any input, I would love to hear that in the comment section below as well. And of course, as always, if you've stuck along this far in the video, I want to thank you so much for your time, and I hope to see you again sometime soon.